It sounds like you don't want a traditional wife, you just want another mommy. That is the exact moment the room went dead silent. No one breathed. No one moved. Just the sound of my friend's boyfriend, Mark, turning a shade of red I didn't know humans could achieve. Am I the a-hole for telling a man he can't demand a 1950s housewife when he has a 2025 bank account? Stick around, because after I said this, Mark decided to prove me wrong in the most insane, financially ruinous way possible. So, let's set the scene. I'm a 25-year-old female, and last weekend, I was hanging out with a group of close friends and their partners. We were having a few drinks, things were light, and the vibe was great, until Mark opened his mouth. Mark is the boyfriend of one of my best friends, Sarah. They've been together for about 2 years. Sarah is a rock star. She works 60 hours a week in medical sales, she's ambitious, and she's the primary breadwinner in their relationship. Mark works a standard 9 to 5 and, according to Sarah, is very adamant that they split everything exactly 50-50. Now, I don't judge people's financial splits. Whatever works for you, works for you. But Mark has this habit. After a couple of beers, he starts acting like he's some high-value philosopher from a Sigma Male podcast. He starts ranting about the decline of modern society and how women have lost their way. I usually just tune him out. I look at my phone, I talk to Sarah, I do anything to avoid the eye roll. But this time, Mark decided to go on a full-blown lecture. Mark started going on about how traditional values are dead. He said, and I quote, "The reason so many women are single and miserable today is because they've forgotten how to be wives. They don't want to take care of the home. They don't want to serve their husbands. They've traded a happy home for a corporate cubicle." I tried to keep it civil. I really did. I responded by saying, "Mark, it's 2025. Women don't need a man to provide a life for them anymore. We can build it ourselves. It's about partnership now, not permission." He didn't like that. He doubled down. He started talking about how, back in the day, women took pride in their domestic duties and never complained about taking care of their man. I looked at Sarah. She was looking at her drink, looking incredibly uncomfortable. See, the irony here is that Sarah does all the cooking. She does the laundry. She handles the grocery shopping. And yet, she still pays half the rent while working 20 hours more a week than he does. I felt my blood start to boil. I let him rant for another 5 minutes about feminine energy and the natural order of the household. Finally, I couldn't take the hypocrisy anymore. I put my drink down, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "Mark, stop. Just stop." The table went quiet. I continued, "You keep talking about wanting a traditional wife. But a traditional wife requires a traditional husband. A traditional husband is a provider. He's a protector. He carries the entire financial burden so his wife can focus on the home." I leaned in. "Sarah works more than you do. She pays 50% of your bills. You aren't providing a life where she can be traditional. You're asking for a 1950s maid while you're putting in 2025 roommate effort. You don't want a traditional wife, Mark. It sounds like you just want another mommy who pays half your rent." The silence was deafening. Sarah looked like she wanted to disappear into the floorboards. Mark's jaw literally dropped. He stammered for a second, then hissed out that my toxic way of thinking was exactly what he was talking about. The night ended pretty quickly after that. Before we get to the insane update, where Mark tries to prove he's a provider, hit that subscribe button. Do you think I was too harsh, or did he need the reality check? Let me know in the comments. The next morning, I woke up to a long-winded text from Sarah. She said she didn't think I was wrong, but she thought I was out of line. She said Mark was devastated and embarrassed, and that he'd been crying because I attacked his manhood. He was demanding a formal apology before he would ever agree to be in the same room as me again. I told Sarah I wasn't apologizing for stating facts. If he's embarrassed by his own life choices, that's on him, not me. But then, things took a turn. 2 days later, Sarah calls me sobbing. Apparently, Mark decided to approve he was a traditional provider. Without telling her, he went out and signed a lease on a massive, luxury apartment that costs 3 times their current rent. He also put a down payment on a brand new Escalade. He told her, "Pack your bags, I'm taking care of you now. You're quitting your job on Monday." Here's the catch, Mark doesn't have the money. Sarah checked their joint and savings account, the one they were using to save for a house. He had drained all $30,000 of it to make the down payments and look like a provider. He didn't get a promotion. He didn't win the lottery. He just spent their life savings to alpha me. It gets worse. Much worse. Sarah confronted him about the money. Mark's response? He told her that as the head of the household, he had the right to invest in their future image. He literally told her that her being upset was disrespectful to his leadership. Sarah didn't quit her job. Instead, she called a divorce lawyer. Well, they weren't married, but they had shared assets. She moved out that night and came to stay with me. Mark has been blowing up my phone, accusing me of destroying his family, and claiming that my feminist brainwashing ruined his life. To make matters even worse, it turns out the luxury apartment lease was a scam. Mark was so desperate to look wealthy that he fell for a no-credit check rental scheme on Facebook Marketplace. He lost $15,000 of their savings to a guy in another country. The escalade? It was a high-interest subprime loan that he can't afford. Sarah is currently in the process of suing him to get her half of the savings back. Mark is currently living in his parents'. So, tell me, was I the a-hole for calling out a fake traditional man? Comment NTA or YTA below, and tell me, have you ever dealt with someone who wanted the perks of the past without doing any of the work?